So visualize this with me for one moment. Imagine you are building a house. What kind of foundation are you going to build that house upon? What are the qualities that you want? Would you build a house with a foundation that is always changing, that is not stable? Or would you build that house upon something that never changes and that is always stable? And so you see, I'm not really talking about a house. I'm talking about you. And what you find is that almost all of us build our house. We build ourselves on a foundation that is always changing and that is never stable. And so when the storms of life arrive at our doorstep, what do you think is going to happen? And you see this happening all the time with people. When we approach the harsh realities of life, if we have nothing to keep us grounded, then we'll be washed away. And so not everybody survives the winter because they didn't prepare properly. And so how do we prepare for the storms of life, for the difficult times? We build our life on a strong foundation. And what you will find is that people who spend their time playing video games, drinking alcohol, indulging in temporary pleasures, these are the people who get washed away because they allowed the foundation of their life to break down, or perhaps they never even built it in the first place. And so the very practical steps to building our life on a strong foundation is to build strong habits, things that build us up, and we remove the things that break us down. We remove the habits that are self-destructive, and we build the habits that give us energy, that give us life. And in my life, my experience, exercise was always the one foundational habit that has kept me afloat. And the reason this is because when we move our bodies, we allow the life energy to flow through us. Our heartbeats rise up and pump blood throughout our bodies. We breathe more air and fill our blood with oxygen. And so the more life force that is flowing within us, the more alive we feel. But what happens with a lot of people with depression, people in first world societies, is that we get too trapped in the mind. And so when we sit for long periods of time without moving, without getting the life energy flowing, then all that excess energy goes to our brain, and we get stuck thinking all the time. And too much thinking causes anxiety, it causes stress, and because the body can't tell the difference between what is real in the external world and what is real in the internal world, whatever mind movies you're playing in your head are going to have a physiological effect on your body. And so if you're having negative thoughts, then it's only natural that you have negative emotions. And if you're not moving your body, then you're not releasing any trapped energy. You're not releasing any tension. And this tension can stay trapped and make us feel awkward and stuck. And when we move our body, our brain doesn't have any excess energy to waste on useless thoughts. And when our mind isn't producing so many thoughts, when our mind is quiet, we become more peaceful, and the natural joy within us rises up. But when we're always thinking too much, the joy disappears, the peace goes away. So the way I see it is that one of the greatest problems we have is too much thinking. You see, nature, the world, the universe is already naturally balanced. Everything is already harmonious. There's a flow to life. But with the mind, we can create imbalance. We can create disharmony. Our mind is like a laser beam. And so we have to focus it in the right direction for things to work out properly, for things to work out in our favor. But the moment we begin taking our energy from our mind and reserving that energy, then we become more harmonious and more balanced because we are existing in our natural state. And what this means is that our brain is using less electricity, less energy, and so we're having less emotional reactions to our thoughts, using less energy. And as we accumulate more and more energy, we can experience the radiance of bliss and joy and peace that is our natural state, that is the essence of consciousness. But so long as that energy is being directed toward the mind, toward thoughts, then we become separated from this joy, this peace, this happiness. We become tired all the time because we're thinking too much. We become depressed, anxious. And so that is one of the greatest gifts that moving our bodies can give us, is that it uses our energy not to produce thoughts, but to perpetuate the flow of life within us. And it is the experience of the flow of life within us that brings the peace and the happiness and the joy and the contentment. That is what we are all searching for. And everything is life. Whether you're drinking alcohol or doing drugs, that is also life. But these are lesser forms. And so the lesser form that is, the more temporary the pleasure. And the higher forms of life bring lasting satisfaction. That is why we feel good when we are working on our purpose, when we know we're on the right path, because we're elevating to higher states of consciousness. And that is why we feel bad when we make mistakes and have regrets, because we find ourselves falling to lower states of consciousness. And so the more we become separated from the highest states of consciousness, the more we experience suffering. And so I like to say that hell is synonymous with separation, and heaven is synonymous with union. Union with consciousness, separation from consciousness. And so they say that the fear of God is the beginning of all wisdom, but that is false. It is not the fear of God. It is the fear of being separated from God that is the beginning of all wisdom. And we become separated from God by engaging in wrong action. And you might ask, what is the difference between wrong action and right action? And it's very simple. And so you see, pure consciousness is the highest vibration in existence. All other things are lower vibrations of consciousness. And so pure consciousness is the most valuable resource in existence. And so what is right or wrong action is relative to the degree in which we value higher forms of consciousness. If we waste the higher forms of consciousness, then it becomes wrong action. And if we value higher forms of consciousness, it becomes right action. And so think about it this way. Consciousness is our true state of being. It is the energy in which gives us life. And whatever we give our attention to, we feed our energy. And so if we feed this pure consciousness that is our true state of being to things that waste it, to things that waste our time, to things that waste our energy, to negativity, to drama, to gossip, well then that is wrong action. But if we focus our attention, our energy on things that are valuable, that provide value to others and to ourselves, that help others, that provide insight and knowledge and wisdom to grow consciousness in service to life, then that is right action. And one area where this idea really shines is in semen retention, because this resource within us is our creative force as human beings. It is perhaps one of our most valuable resources as men. And so if you are wasting this resource, then it will bring you to lower states of vibration. You will experience more suffering, and it will separate you from the source. It will separate you from the divine. But if you value this resource, if you take great caution in using it wisely, well then that is right action, and your world will be right. And so creating our realities is quite simple when we begin observing how we value our energy. If we are wasting our energy, then our world, well, it cannot be right. But if we are focusing our energy in directions that we know are good, then it is impossible for our world not to be right, for things not to go well for us. And so there should be no reason to not understand why your life is the way it is. Once you get clear on the ways you're spending your energy, because consciousness is the creative force of existence. And so whatever you focus your energy on, you will create that reality. You will create that experience. And so our energy and our attention and our focus should only be directed on things that are aligned with life and growth and love and value. And this is how we create a better world for ourselves and the ones we love. And it really is as simple as choosing what you focus your energy on, because it is your choice after all. What thoughts do you choose to entertain in your head? What experiences do you choose to focus on? What is the story you are telling yourself in your head? What is the story your mind is telling you? And so you don't need to continue focusing on things that aren't making your life better. The problem is people are just addicted to the negativity. There's a part of them that likes it. And so you have to get clear on who you are. You have to get clear on what you want out of life. Because if you're not clear, the negative forces of this world and of your mind will take that power from you and tell you what you will do. It will tell you what life to live. And it will be a life in which you are a slave. Do you want to live as a slave? Do you want to suffer like a slave? Do you want to be a slave to your mind, to the world around you, to the system? Or do you want to be free? Do you want to break free from the matrix? And so energy management is one of the most important things, one of the greatest skills we can learn. But this requires us to have firm boundaries. And we can't have strong boundaries if we aren't clear on who we are and what we want. And to get clear on who we are and what we want, we simply have to ask ourselves the question. Create the dream in your mind. Ask yourself, if I could have anything that I wanted, if money was no issue, what would be the things I would do every day? And it doesn't matter if they're not practical. Because if you don't love your life, then who cares? Then it doesn't matter what you're doing, because you're just wasting your energy. Better to be broke doing what you love than have all the money in the world and be unhappy. I mean, at least if you got money, you can get happy. But if you're doing what you love, you win the game. You can figure out how to make money later. But first you have to get right within. First you have to love yourself. first you have to love your life. And you see, these are the kinds of things that most people never even ask themselves. They never ponder these kinds of things. Or maybe they do, but the self-limiting beliefs just stop them in their tracks. And this is all part of building a strong foundation for our lives. And so if you want a simple step-by-step process to create the life of your dreams, you need to know where you're going. You need a direction. You need to have a dream that's so big that people will call you crazy. And better yet, you don't even need to tell anybody. But first you need a vision. Then you need to discover who you need to become to create that vision. What are the traits that you need? If you were to fast forward 10 years and you had everything that you ever wanted, what would that person be like? How would that person speak? How would that person think? What would be a day in the life? And then you need to believe with 100% certainty that you can achieve this life. Because if you don't believe, well then resistance will come, roadblocks will get in your way, and you'll lose faith in yourself. You won't make it. So you have to be certain without a doubt. And there will be days that test you, because that is necessary for you to grow. But if you have belief, you use these tests as fuel rather than letting these roadblocks take the wind out of your sails. And lastly, you don't need to have it figured out. And you don't need to figure it out. You just need to put one foot in front of the other, because the path will unveil itself in front of you. And so don't spend your time trying to think about it. Just go. Because they say that life is happening when you're making plans for it. And most thinking is just procrastination. And what I just laid out for you is easily achievable by anybody. Fantasizing about a dream takes no effort. That's fun. You can't tell me that you don't have the energy to think about how your life would be if you had everything you wanted. You can't tell me it would be too difficult to think about the greatest version of yourself and who you want to become and who you'd like to be. That should be inspiring to you. You can't tell me it takes any effort to have 100% belief. It's just a choice you have to make. And some people will have less self-esteem than others. Some people will have less belief in themselves than others. So maybe you need to take the time to figure that out. But belief is just a choice. And whether you say you can do it or you can't do it, either one will be true. Because the power of belief is one of the greatest forces in the universe. And you should rejoice in the fact that you don't have to figure it out. Because that is what stops most people. Because things are so overwhelming, there's so much information everywhere that it's not easy to know how to make things happen in the way we need to manifest our dreams. A lot of the times we'll just be wandering in the wrong direction. But if you have 100% certainty and belief, and instead of thinking about how to make things happen, you simply take action and put one foot in front of the other, well then how difficult is that really? You know how to walk, you know how to move, and you don't even need to be good at this. You don't always have to do exactly the right things all the time. You just have to focus your energy, you have to focus your attention in a specific direction. And each day, each moment you focus your energy on creating the life that you desire, this dream, this vision, well then eventually it becomes natural. It takes no effort. And I say, the majority of the battle is just surviving the days that you want to give up. That is the hardest part. The hardest part is being patient when life isn't exactly going your way. And that is why we need 100% certainty of what we cannot yet see. And this certainty will arise naturally when you remember your true power as a creator, when you realize that you have all the power in the universe to create any reality you desire, regardless of your external circumstances. Because you are consciousness, you are the creative life force of reality. You are the creator. So don't lower your value by not believing in yourself, by giving up, because you're not valuing your power. You're not valuing your energy. That is one of the greatest sins, and your life will show that. And so as long as you keep your attention focused on the vision, there is no choice but to create it. But if you are not clear on what you want, if you're not clear on who you want to be, well then it is very easy to be distracted by all these temporary pleasures and shiny objects. And like I said, if you're not deeply rooted enough, if you don't have a strong foundation, when the storms of life come, they're just going to wash you away. But those who are grounded in purpose, who are grounded in the innermost core of their being, in presence, these are the unshakable ones. These are the undeniable. These people will not be stopped. And the greater vision you have, the more that you will be fueled along your journey to never give up. Because that is what keeps us going when times are hard. We have to remember why we do the things that we do and who we do them for. Because if you do not have those things, if you are not clear, well then when the hard times come, when the resistance comes, that's when you give up. And that is the difference between the average and a champion. It's how strong is your foundation? How deep are your roots? Because the deeper your roots go, the larger and greater you can be. That is why Carl Jung said, no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. These are the giants. And it is those who can withstand the suffering, those who can even embrace the storm. Those are the stars that shine the brightest. Because most people are afraid of the pain, they're afraid of the suffering. They are cowards. And so they let the fear overtake them. And they are punished rightly so, because they did not value their power as a creator. They did not value their energy. They did not value consciousness. They let their power be stolen from them. And that is exactly what happens when you don't claim your power. Because there are forces in this world and forces in our mind that are waiting to steal our power anytime they can. And these are the demons. These are the evil beings in our world. Because they are forced to feed off others to survive. And you see, this has nothing to do with religion, because we know this is the fundamental nature of reptiles. This is why they're called the reptilians, because a reptile is pure base instinct. It requires to eat other life to survive. It does nothing but take. And so you see, you have this reptilian in your mind, this reptilian part of your brain that desires to take, that desires to consume. And this part of your brain only wants to satisfy the most base instincts, and it doesn't care how it happens. And so if you allow this part of your brain to rule over you, you'll be dragged down to hell, because Satan is the king of the reptilians in this way. And again, this is not about religion, it's not about conspiracy, it's just about patterns that emerge that we can see. Satan is just the negative force in our mind that is pulling us down. And don't listen to what I am saying. See for yourself, become aware, and don't get lost in these concepts. Keep it simple. Watch for the negative and watch for the positive force in our life, in our minds, that pull us in these different directions. These voices that are calling us, that we choose to give our energy to. And so do you give your energy to the negative force within you? The one that is keeping you a slave, that is keeping you in lower states of vibration? Or do you follow the positive force, the one that tells you this is where you should go because this is what's best for you? This is what you should do. And you see, if we reject that positive voice within us one too many times, well, then it stops speaking to us. Because why would you speak if somebody isn't listening? But the negative force is happy to get all your attention. And you can see plain as day, people get stuck in terrible life circumstances because they choose to focus on negativity. And then they ask themselves why their life is the way it is. And it is so obvious. It is so simple. That's all it comes down to. Do you give your energy to the negative force? Do you give your energy to the positive force? All you need to do is be aware of your actions. Be aware of the words you speak. Be aware of the thoughts that are consuming you. Because the reality that you experience will be in exact proportion to the amount of energy you've given to one of the two sides, positivity or negativity. And you see, if you want to be radical, if you want to be extreme, if you want to be the greatest, you only need to do one thing, but very few are willing to pay this price. That is, focus your attention in a one-pointed fashion on the realization that consciousness is your true being. Remain in the present moment. Resonate in the presence that is experienced, because this I am sensation that is experienced in the present moment, that manifests as presence, this is the gateway to the eternal, highest frequency of vibration in existence. And if you choose to focus your attention there and only there, well, then your life will harmonize by itself. All of your problems will begin being taken care of, rather than you having to try and figure it all out by yourself, because that is overwhelming for such a feeble creature as we are. We can only handle so much. And that is one of the reasons why many people believe in God, because they don't want to build their life, they don't want to build their foundation on something that is changing, for something that is unstable, on something that is unreliable. We must realize that we are always changing, our personality is always changing. And so if we rely on this identity, then the foundation of our life will be changing, will be unreliable, will be unstable. But when we build our foundation on the eternal, when we focus our energy on God, well, then there is no storm that can take us out, because we are grounded deepest. We are rooted in the highest truth. And the eternal is always with you. It is experienced now. And so you do not need to go out and try and search for it. You simply need to remove the things that are keeping your awareness from it. And the more we can align with the eternal, the more harmonious we become and the stronger our foundation. This is how we reclaim our power. This is how we create the reality we desire. This is how we create heaven on earth.